right, welcome to our webinar. We are here in Harrisburg and we welcome all the folks from all around the counties. We are joining Jorja Barton, our Director of Agency Relations, and Steve Early, our Agency Operations Coordinator. So we are welcoming all of you, and what we'd like to do is to show a short little video, and then we'll introduce our speakers, and then we'll go from there.
Hey Gladys, how are you doing today? You really want the truth? About that? I feel rough. I am so tired. You know, I've been at this job 20 years, and it's really getting to me. I am just exhausted. Wow, you need to slow down the pace. You're going to make yourself sick. I didn't realize you've been here for 20 years. Wow, we need to do something to get some more help in here. Well, sometimes I think I should retire. But I truly have the heart for helping people with food. Well, let me tell you what happened yesterday. I went up to the food bank, pick up our order at 1 o'clock. Then I got stuck in traffic. That took an extra 45 minutes. So it was 3:30 by the time I got back here. There was nobody to help me unload. And you know I have back problems. So I unloaded, stocked the shelves. That took a while. And by the time I got home, it was 6 o'clock. My husband was not happy. Wow, we really need to talk to Pastor, find out if we can speed up the process of getting some new volunteers in here. We just need help here. Oh, I think I hear some cars. Yep, our first clients are pulling up for the day. I didn't finish my paperwork, and there's a BMW, no less. Some people. Now, Gladys, I know you're tired and you're not feeling well, but, you know, we can't judge people. We've been told that so many times, not to judge people. We don't know their circumstances. You know, we've got to let that up to a higher power to judge them, not us. Well, I don't like to be taken advantage of.
Is this the pantry where you get the food?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm kind of nervous. I'm new at this. I'm not sure so you've been here before?
Okay. Oh, a number of times.
Okay. Is this the door you go in?
Yes, it is.
Do you mind if I just follow you?
Come right along. I'm going to look for an DVD. Good morning. Oh, you're looking for a notebook. Oh, that's good. I heard somebody. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, grab that, please.
Thank you for helping me. I was the best.
Yeah. You gotta roll with it. You know, I've been down on my luck. But, yeah, you keep trying.
I tell you, it just all happened so fast. I think that's what the problem is. My husband, he lost his job. He started drinking, started gambling. It was all the same business. And then I lose my job, medical, gone, no insurance, nothing. All of a sudden, we're living this nice life, and then all of a sudden, here I am, moving out, like embarrassed, just beyond belief. I don't know where to turn, what to do. And I have 3 kids. I don't know what to do. I need food.
But you're trying. Yeah.
It comes at you fast, you know? Like, one day we were fine, and then my husband loses his job, and then he starts drinking. And then he gambles away all our savings, behind on the mortgage. My daughter was really sick, and Yeah, anyone else, it's awful. I'm embarrassed. I thought at this point in my life, I'd be okay, have it all together, We try. This is a good show. You're a strong woman. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it because I feel like crap lately. I just feel so bad about myself that, I never thought the day would come that I couldn't feed my kids.
You started out, being independent, trying to get help, and that's the most important thing. You're working it out.
Thank you for encouraging me because, it doesn't seem like life has been really good to me lately. And we used to have a nice life, everything I thought I had it all figured out. And then here I am, the pantry.
Yeah, the kids are fine. Hungry, as always, growing.
So that's a different ones too.
They get school lunch, and they get lunch out.
Okay. Thanks for your encouragement. That makes me feel so good. Everything is good, so against me lately. But what kind of food would I get here? I mean, all we've been eating is ramen noodles for like the last month. Do they give you anything more than ramen noodle?
They'll give you enough to hold you over. Moving forward.
I've been through, like I said, I'm sure everybody's been through a lot, and some people treat me like crap. Like, oh, I chose to do this. But so how are they here? Are they
Well, you got
nice?
some good ones here, and then you got some real bitchy ones here too.
The bitchy one's not in today. She'll probably be the one that I end up with.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
That's
Morning, why don't you come this way with me?
Oh, okay, you, come over here. You're new, aren't you?
Yes.
Do you have photo ID? Do you have a pay stub?
Yes, I have. No, I don't have a pay stub, but.
Well, do you have an ID? But I said, did you bring an ID?
I have an ID. Yes. I have an ID. So it's in here somewhere. Sorry, I'm nervous. I don't have a pay stub though. I've been laid off. I'm out of a job now, so I don't have a pay stub. Just bear with me. I'm ashamed and embarrassed.
Well, it doesn't appear that way. You look rather well to me.
Well, so my whole world just crumbled right before my eyes, and I don't know what to do.
Pay stub, social security card,
Been out of work.
food voucher.
I don't even know what a voucher is. No one told me about.
Do you have a proof of residency?
No.
Anything that says where you live?
Or my license has my address. Will that work?
Well, yes, but
I'm sorry, I'm really
the other-
embarrassed. I'm really nervous. I'm just really ashamed of myself for being here.
Well, have you filed for unemployment or food stamps?
I have an appointment tomorrow to file for unemployment. But in the meantime, I need some food for my 3 kids. Everything just happened. My husband moved out. I can't pay mortgage, and I don't have a mortgage. Medical bill.
So you own your own home. Now, what is your husband? Is he employed?
But let me explain. My husband left me. He is, nobody knows where he is, so I'm not getting any child support. I have no money. And all I want to do is help feed my kids and pay for food. I would appreciate whatever you can do to help me.
Well, I think we can work something out to give you some food today.
Thank you, because the kids are really hungry, and I have to, actually, I'm in a hurry because I have to,
Wait a minute. You don't need to explain anything to me. I've heard it all before. Now, I do have other people waiting for food. Now, if you fill out this paperwork and then wait your turn.
Well, I appreciate whatever you can do to help me, because I gotta feed the kids, and I'm in a kind of a hurry right now because I have to pick up my daughter from her appointment.
Look, is she getting her nails done?
It's dialysis appointment.
Goodbye. think we need to talk. I mean, the way you treated that last client just is not acceptable. How about if you and I go out for a cup of coffee and we can talk this over?
Okay, we are back after watching that short video clip. We're going to introduce Jorja Barton, who has been the Director of Agency Relations since 2000, and Steve Early, our Outreach Coordinator, who has been with the bank for 5 years. Between the two of them, such experience working with agencies and seeing all the scenarios and many more to help assist you with some tips and tricks on avoiding agency burnout. So we welcome Jorja and Steve.
Hi, everybody. We're happy that you joined us today. Steve and I are going to tag team here on this topic. We did this little video, oh my gosh, I don't know, it's probably about 8 or 10 years ago now. And it was produced locally by one of our agency partners, Bill Jameson from Allison Hill Community Ministries, actually, in his former life was a videographer or did some producing, so he helped us with the video, but it was really born out of some conversation with agencies about volunteer burnout. It's as much volunteer burnout as it is agency burnout. That's the topic today, is really about problems that can crop up with volunteers that experience this, and how to recognize it and how to make adjustments for that. I think that's really what we want to talk about today more than anything. So the presentation that we're going to give you actually was also created some time ago, originally by a woman by the name of Carla Cantu, who works for the Capital Area Food Bank in Texas. And we saw this presentation at a national conference one time, brought it back to the food bank, tweaked it a little bit, and then that's when we did the video as well. So I hope that, and we will have an opportunity for comments at some point through here. I guess maybe what we should backtrack here a little bit and get some instructions from Maria on comments that you might want to share with us as we're going along, and then we'll have an opportunity to pull you in vocally so that you can ask questions or contribute to what we have to say. So let's backtrack a little bit about those instructions.
And on Friday I did send out a help menu as far as how this basically works. You should be seeing a little screen, our screen, and the title, Avoiding Agency Burnout, but then there's a little slider bar, like your little control panel, where you can then see a chat question. There's a little chat box. You can send it to us, and then we can answer those questions. Then there are also a little way that you can do it is a little icon of a hand, is like a raising of the hand. So then you can just raise your hand, and I can see that. We will then unmute you so we can actually hear you if you like, so you can ask your question live. Either way that you provide it, by raising the hand, or by sending in the chat box by typing in your question, and I can see those coming in at any time. Whatever way you prefer, because it is a webinar style. You're in your agency or in your home, wherever you are. To have you here would have been a better scenario, to have small group discussion, but we're going to do, we'll be able to do a lot this way. So send in your questions and let us know whatever you need. So back to Jorja.
Okay, so the video really does point out some scenarios that I'm sure all of you, whether you're a food pantry program or a meal site program, there might be some things that you related to that you saw in the video. And obviously it's a parody, if you will, about some things that can happen. These are all either agency friends or the lady, the grumpy volunteers, actually, Rosemary Cahill, one of our very long time, wonderful, dedicated volunteers in our agency relations department, and she played her part perfectly. I think that some of you might even be able to relate to, some similar experiences, maybe personally, maybe just witnessing some of this activity at your own program. So obviously burnout is real. It can happen to a lot of people, very, very dedicated people. It happens to everybody sooner or later, I guess, but it's what we want to talk about today is recognizing it and how to address that if it's something that you see happening at your program. Hopefully this short session will give you some insight into this and some tactics how you'll be able to respond should this situation happen at your program. We'll just tag team. Go ahead.
Well, hello everybody. It's Steve Early. I hope we get to answer your questions. More than anything, we need to hear from you to address anything that you are concerned about, more than just lecture you the whole time. So please chime in, raise your hand. We'd actually love to hear your voice more than anything, but anything you can throw at us, we'd love to hear today. You know your staff and your volunteers best, and they are truly dedicated. Without their support for your program, where would you be? We all rely heavily on our volunteer support, so we need to support them and keep their work experience pleasant and a rewarding one.
Burnout, the next slide is basically, burnout's a gradual process. It doesn't happen, the minute somebody walks in the door, obviously. It's a prolonged response to stress that you or your volunteers might feel at your program. It could be physical, it could be emotional, but it manifests itself as, in lower productivity, cynicism. That word jumps off the page to me a lot because that's what, Steve and I and Maria certainly, we get to come out and we get to talk to people a lot, and some red flags do go up when we start to hear comments about that agency folks share with us about the folks that they're serving, and that's troublesome. So that's why we're doing this today, and obviously those of you that joined in have interest in that, and we appreciate that you're participating today, and this is an opportunity that we want you to share with your agency volunteers and or staff as well. We have these videos. We've produced them in the past. We had them and produced CDs of this and made them available. We did the workshop at an agency conference and handed out the CDs. So we want you, as we go through this, if you feel that this is valuable to you, we want you to take advantage of that opportunity to show it to your volunteers once in a while as a little bit of an educational experience. So please keep that in mind as well. So as we talked about, these over time, these situations affect yourself, they affect your volunteers, and eventually then that's when you end up with having some problems at your agency. So we want to teach you or talk with you about how to avoid that from happening.
Now, you and your volunteers can reach the further stages of burnout because of your dedication. You have a strong sense of responsibility and don't like being deterred from reaching your mission. I just want to add on to that we all volunteer in different ways. It's just the difference is, like myself, I volunteer, I coach football, and it becomes really hard towards the end of the season, but there's an end of the season. With what you're doing, there's no end of the season. It's going to continue for years to years. One of our goals is to end hunger, and I believe that's your goal as well. However, it's nowhere in sight, and you got to recognize that you have to communicate, and that would be my suggestion, just to communicate with people like Rosemary did at the end. At the very beginning, she talked a little bit about it, and then her director said, let's go out and have a cup of coffee. You have to talk about it because everybody can relate, and a good thing about the food bank is you can communicate with us, and we can help you reach out and network with other people doing the exact same thing. And just coming from a person who has been burned out on many different occasions, you'll never understand until you do it. But once you start communicating with people about what you're dealing with, it makes you feel better just talking about it. So we'll move on to the next slide.
Well, and just sometimes you're too close to it too. That's one of the things that we wanted to point out is sometimes you just may not even realize that it's happening even to yourself. And you need to be mindful of that as well. People need you in the job that we're doing. A lot of people lean on you, not only your clients, but those volunteers. They look to you for your guidance, for your assistance to them. And so as a program manager, and many of you are program managers, I did notice that on the attendee list, you need to be mindful of that leadership role and that the folks do look up to you for that guidance. And some pretty big shoes to fill, obviously, but there's a reason you're in that role. You are a leader. You took on the responsibility that's been given to you, and along with that comes the responsibility not only to yourself but to your volunteers. You have stress in that role, you have anxiety, and you have other challenges. And your job's to manage that and to recognize when that happens and make the necessary adjustments if need be to resolve those problems. Most volunteers choose to volunteer because they have a calling to do so. Now, some of you folks are employed and you get a salary. Some of you, more often than not, those of you that are on the call are volunteers. But you had a reason to do what you do. Whether it was a faith-based reason, you have the compassion to help others and to lead them to services that they require. So lots of times volunteers, they come together to do these programs together because they want to save the world, or just save their community, and that's incredibly admirable. I can't see this photo so well on here, but I'm trying to, can we pull that somehow? Who's that picture of? Ishkan. This is a prime example. If you came to the agency conference, the folks at Ishkan are a group of Hare Krishnas that live up in Juniata County, and of all places for Hare Krishnas to settle is in the middle of rural Juniata County, and those folks are incredibly community oriented, and in a matter of 24 hours pulled together a distribution that served over 130 families. And they just want to give back to their community. Do they get burned out? I'm sure they do. But they are, as all of you, very, very dedicated volunteers and doing good work in their community, and we're very proud to partner with them and with all of you. So lots of good things going on out there with our partners. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for all of you.
Well, Jorja mentioned about saving the world, and sometimes saving the world means that you need to hear statements like these. Is that all I get? How come they got chicken and I didn't get any chicken? What do you mean I have to sign my name? You people never serve no Twinkies. You need to give me laundry soap once in a while. I have clothes that need washed. What are you giving me hot dogs without chili? Why are you giving me hot dogs without chili? Yes, they really are my kids.
All my kids.
Yeah, they really are all my kids.
So, how many of you have heard these statements from time to time? I hope you're chuckling at this, because I'm sure that you do hear this from time to time. So think about, as you hear those questions or those statements, think about personally what your reaction to those are. And that's what I want you to share as we go along. If you've got comments that you want to share with us about that, I think everyone has probably experienced this one time or another. So hearing these statements day in and day out at your program, because we all know that there are clients that are incredibly appreciative and complimentary and thankful for the services that you provide, and then there are those habitual complainers that aren't happy because somebody got something different. Somebody, there's Unfortunately, there's that sense once in a while, but I think that most of you probably would agree that that's the minority. You know, you're there to serve the people in your community, and for the most part, most everybody that you're serving is certainly very appreciative. Some of the things that came out in the video about the nails, you know, I hear this so often when we go out to visit agencies is, yeah, we have people that come in here with iPhones and they get their nails done and all that. Well, think about simple pleasures or pleasures that we all have. Everybody has them. We all deserve to have simple pleasures. And think about the community that we're serving too. One workshop that we've had in the past is understanding the different classes of people in our country and their reactions to stress or their immediate gratification, and sometimes, you know, that check comes in at the beginning of the month or whatever, and an immediate gratification is to go out and get a new pair of shoes or something without really having the foresight of why it's important to make that money last through the end of the month. That's a cultural thing. It can be a cultural thing. It can be a generational poverty issue. And so there's a lot of issues behind the scenes that most of us really don't understand. And we should never assume or presume that we do. So from your personal experience, think about what comments you've heard from your volunteers or staff when they converse with your customers and they hear some of these statements. You know, have they shared them with you, and how do you react to that? Again, you're the leader. You are the person in charge. People look up to you for guidance. So think about your own reactions to those kinds of statements, just like in the movie. How did Joanne, who runs the food pantry in Middletown, how does she react? How do you react to a volunteer that might make those statements to you? Think back. Did you feel that way when you first started your job? Did your volunteers feel that way when they first started their job? Unfortunately, sometimes they become desensitized to why they came there in the first place and what the mission truly is of your organization.
So becoming judgmental, what it means? You have now lost the reason why you started volunteering in the first place. Don't let it happen. Remember, you wanted to help those in need. Your volunteer work should be for you, not to get thanks or pat on the back or a feeling of superiority. You want to help your community, not judge who in the community deserves help. No one knows what is going on behind the scenes in another person's life. No person has the right to judge another. Judge not. When your agency partnered with the food bank, you agreed to help those in need. If clients enter your food program, we must assume they are in need. Feed them. Do you have the right to pass judgment on whether a client truly needs your services? They have swallowed their pride and at your doorstep. We don't know what's going on behind the closed doors. Feed them. If they're abusing the system, let them answer to a higher power. On your end, you do what you set out to do, and that's help them.
When I first started at the food bank, and I like to share this with people, I went to Kendall Hanna, our director at the time, because I had a lot of agency folks, you know, talking about the double dippers and people that, you know, they spent so much time focusing on people that were abusing the system. And this is in the pantry setting, and I know not all of you were in the pantry setting, but I had a lot of people, and we've had that at meetings that we've had from time to time. If there's one topic that comes up, it's always the double dippers. It's always the people that seem to be abusing the system. That's not ever going to go away. I think we all agree with that. There's always going to be somebody that's scamming the system. But is that our role? You know, is that the role that you came to work or volunteer at your agency? You know, is that why you did what you did? I don't think so. I think you came to help people that are in need, and those are the folks that we need to focus on. And that's what Kendall said to me when I asked him that question. I was worried that I was going to have to go out and, you know, police agencies and clients and, you know, stop all of that. And he said, Jorja, we're not the food Nazis. We're not We're not the food police. Someday folks will have to answer to, scamming the system, but for right now, our job is to feed people, and that's what we do. So when you agreed to partner with the food bank, you agreed to help those folks in need, just as Steve said, and that's the purpose of your work. Every client that comes through your door deserves to have compassion and the right to be heard, just like Mary Ann. That was another volunteer that played the part of the lady with the BMW and all the finer things in life. We don't know what the situation is behind the scenes. Being judgmental means because I drove up in a really nice car, I don't need to come to a food pantry. But we don't know for sure whether I borrowed that car to get there. Because I'm, getting around fine, the assumption is made, well, why aren't you working? Well, you might not know that I have congenital heart failure and perhaps I can't work. I can't see that your heart's bad. So just because I seem to be okay doesn't mean that I'm not disabled in some way. I know they go to other food pantries. Again, there's things that we can do, and that's why for so many years we've really stressed that pantries work together to help minimize any issues of abuse if we feel that that's going on. That's why we ask you to do the zip code, service territories, things like that, to help minimize any of those issues. It's not going to ever go away, but there are ways that we can work together to minimize that. And the reality is a lot of people do need to go to pantries more than one time. We recommend that you give 3 to 4 days worth of food, but if there's no money coming in to a household, 3 or 4 days worth of food isn't going to last very long for a household. So there are people that do need to get services at multiple locations. And that's just the way it is.
Just the way it is. Now, we just want you to recognize if you are starting to become desensitized, and remind yourself of those early days when you first began, all that passion that you had when you wanted to save the world, back when your compassion was fresh and your passion was strong, back when you acknowledged each client as they walked through the door because you knew it gave them a feeling of worth, back when you looked into each set of eyes and truly listened, back when the thank you out of your entire back when the one thank you out of the entire day made it worth it. It really makes a difference. That's what we need you to, I can say this, I know I've had a couple of you in orientation at some point, but really the overall goal is to change the face of hunger. Once you stop visualizing a person in need as a certain individual looking like a certain way, this is what they look like, this is how they dress, this is how tall they are, this is the way their hair looks, and you see the face of hunger as the person in the mirror, which could be anybody. Then you'll start to realize I need to help anybody who walks through the door. And like Jorja said, you'll be more compassionate, and you'll understand that just because they, like in the video, they have a BMW, Rosemary noticed the BMW sign, but she didn't notice the for sale sign. She assumed that because she was dressed a certain way that the woman could actually get the child's nails done, when actually she's trying to pick her daughter up from dialysis. It's really a struggle. So if you find yourself saying, I don't think this person needs food, maybe it's something you got to look within yourself and say, well, wait a minute, why did I just say that?
So, can you relate to the word of being desensitized or judgmental? Can you relate to any of your volunteers that might fit into either one of those situations? Have they become desensitized or judgmental? Why should I listen to you? Why should I care about that? Why should we as the food bank care about that? Our department, as you might imagine, is the first phone call that somebody picks up the phone if they feel that they haven't been treated well or just have had a bad experience at a food pantry program. And it doesn't have to necessarily be because somebody in front of them got a chicken and they didn't. We've had calls from clients that feel very strongly that they've been treated unfairly, And that's why maybe, once in a while, we've got to make some phone calls to agencies to try to arrest that and really get to the bottom. Is it a problem with a particular volunteer? What's going on in this situation? So we really do try to follow up with that and, make you aware of if that situation does ever happen. How can you help to change some of these things? As you personally, as a program coordinator, we always need you to look on the positive side, always be that cheerleader, if you will, for your volunteers and your staff. Be able to live in the presence of imperfection. Folks are coming to you that have troubled lives. Things are not perfect in their lives, and yet you need to operate within that realm for them and try to make their experience as pleasant as you can. Learn to catch yourself when you're about to say something or think something negatively that, your clients pick up on that. The words don't have to be said. Actions, throwing boxes around, whatever the case might be. We've all been mad one time or another. But you're working in the public realm, so you need to really be mindful of that. You can't change others. You can't change your clients. You can assist them as best you can, but only they can make changes. They can choose to make the changes in their lives. So again, you're there to take care of them, not to judge them. Your job is to feed them.
Now we're at a point where you have to ask yourself, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not desensitized or judgmental, and I surely wouldn't violate anyone's civil rights, but they're illegal. I have the responsibility to be sure this food goes to someone who really needs it. I have to answer to people that financially support us. I know these people. I've lived here all my life. If I don't point out their shortcomings, they will never get out of the food line. And go ahead, Georgia.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, those are the things you don't want to do, especially if you feel you know someone.
Yeah.
You don't want to act like you know everything about someone because you grew up with them. You never really know someone unless you walk in their shoes, and they may be taking on more than what you think they are at the time. They have to make sacrifices. I have family members of my own that don't know all my shortcomings or things I'm dealing with health-wise. But if you ask them, they think I'm doing extremely well, and I am. I'm blessed, but at the same time, I need a lot of help. And if you ask the people in my community, they might feel I don't need it. And that's where we want to make sure you realize you don't want to be one of those people that say that someone doesn't need something because you feel you know them.
I want to give an example, and the time of year is very, it's perfect for this workshop. But last Thanksgiving, there was a generous donor who wanted to distribute turkeys in a community close by. And so this gentleman's spokesperson reached out to me and wanted to know how he could work with food pantries in the area to see that folks received a turkey for the holiday. So the best way for me to manage that was to get in touch with all the pantries in the community, let them know that this person was being very generous and wanted to assist them. And the thought was that each pantry would just say, I have X number of households that I serve, and I would, be very thankful if I could receive vouchers. They were vouchers for turkeys, not actual turkeys. And so one pantry made the mistake of forwarding their client list to this person. And the person ended up calling her back and saying, because he lived in the community, he reviewed the list and he picked and chose from the list of who he wanted to get a turkey and who he didn't want to get a turkey. And that's a prime example of someone being judgmental and making the decision that because he was from that community and he may have known the individuals that were on that list, he literally just picked who he wanted to have a turkey and who he didn't. And all of these people have been pantry consumers. All of them were pantry consumers for a very long time. and yet he was being judgmental about who should receive them. That's a prime example of whatever, personal judgment and being judgmental and discriminatory towards the folks that that particular pantry was serving. So that's a prime example of what can happen when someone's being judgmental. Some helpful hints. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, some helpful hints. You can assist your volunteers to be more efficient in their assignments, can help reduce burnout. All pantries should post signs with days, hours of operation, how often a client may visit, any required items like an ID, proof of address, some type of a bill, any other restrictions such as only serves a certain zip code, basically telling people your service area. Provide opportunities for your staff, volunteers to attend training sessions dealing with sensitivity issues. I personally have done multiple trainings at the facility in which people do the distributions. You don't even have to leave your facility. I have no problem ever coming out and just sitting with your volunteers. I've actually done it with clients where clients have to come in at a certain time, and while they're sitting there, I do a little training for them to understand what you deal with. So, little trainings like that. I mean, it doesn't have to take an hour. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. Sometimes it could be an hour. It depends on all the questions. But it usually is productive. I haven't had a situation where it wasn't productive. So one of the other things you can do is, of course, address the civil rights guidelines with each of your volunteer and your staff annually. I mean, please do that. There's things online, and we can always help you get that information as well if you're not computer literate and you just want a personal touch. You can always reach out to us and we can get you the right direction for that. And if you have board members or other type of staff members, we'd like them to be included in the civil rights training as well. If you recognize that burnout is happening, please be prepared to discuss it with your staff and volunteers, make necessary adjustments in the roles that they play. There is a job for everyone, and sometimes folks need to take a step back from direct client interaction, a reality check. Food banker volunteer scenarios. This even happens with us. Worst case scenarios that you must ask someone to leave.
The reason I put that comment in there is we rely heavily on volunteers here as well. And over the years that I've been here, I'm sad to say, we've had some situations with volunteers that, the role just wasn't right. And we don't deal with clients like you guys do. But the role for that individual just wasn't right for one reason or another. And that's the worst case scenario. You certainly don't want to have to get to the point that you have to ask a volunteer to leave, that you don't appreciate their services. There is a job for everybody. It could be that if they help with the truck once in a while. It could be that they stock shelves or work in the kitchen or whatever the case might be. But when you are the leader, you are the manager of your program, whatever the case might be, and it's incumbent upon you to recognize when that starts to happen, observe your volunteers, be close to them, and if you see this start to unfold with someone, then it's your responsibility to remove them from that situation. Certainly talk to them about it, and switch out roles once in a while. Give people a little bit more diversified activity. Let them relate to what all the different jobs are within your program so that they can have a well-rounded experience. And at some point, if you feel that they're ready to go back to working directly with clients, then by all means, if that's what works best for you and for them, certainly you want to do that. Another example that I wanted to give you is another prime story. This is the dark side. I always say this to our staff here that it's not all hearts and flowers in the agency relations department. And there's a story that I want to share with you about a food pantry program in Harrisburg City. It's been around for more years than I've been here, and it had a coordinator who, for all the right reasons, started the program. They were very devoted to their community. As far as I know, they're still very devoted to their community. But the program that this person managed, we kept getting phone calls, and this goes back to interaction with clients. We kept getting phone calls about this particular person and how they were discriminating against different cultures, different backgrounds of people coming into the pantry. And in some cases, the consumers were given free rein to choose the items of food that they wanted, and in others, they simply got a packed bag with saltine crackers and maybe a can of soup. No meat, where other folks were given as much meat as they wanted, and this person was being very, very discriminatory against different backgrounds of people. And so we went to visit this location with Joanne Hoke from the Department of Agriculture and discovered that this particular person was hoarding food. We were only ever shown one room of the pantry, and we found that here there were people that were being denied food time and time again, and yet this coordinator was hoarding food for years. And the food bank ended up having to go in there and shut down the program and dispose of more than 8,000 to 10,000 pounds of inventory that this person was just hoarding in a back room. And when she was asked, why, how did we get to this situation? When you have so many families that needed to be served, and you were picking and choosing who could get what kind of food, when you had rooms and rooms full of food that literally exploded on us. In some cases, when we picked up cases of tomato sauce, they exploded on us. That's how long that product was sitting there. She couldn't answer that question. She couldn't tell us why she chose to not give food to some and gave other people, more than what they should have had. And that was a prime example of somebody that was so out of touch with what she was doing that she needed to be removed from that program. She was to the point that she wouldn't even, and she was a volunteer, she wasn't even employed, but she denied access to the pantry even of the program director. She had a key and she would not allow this person into the storage area. So be very, very mindful, very close to your volunteers, and certainly avoid any of those kinds of situations from happening. They do happen. We've had them happen from time to time, and we want you to be able to recognize that. I did want to mention too, Steve mentioned the annual civil rights. There are some changes coming that all of you need to be aware of. We've all been very blessed with the bonus commodities that we've been receiving from the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. And that's all the free stuff that's been on the inventory list. The chicken leg quarters, the cranberry sauce, cranberry juice, raisins, blueberries in the past, all kinds of wonderful products that surplus bonus TFAP inventory. We were notified by the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture that in order for any agency to continue to receive those commodities, they must implement certain things in order to continue to get that product. The things that will need to be implemented is a new member agency agreement relative to bonus commodities, self-declaration of need forms, which is the income guidelines, must be utilized by all food pantries that distribute that inventory. USDA and Justice for All posters will have to be posted and available where clients can see them. And anyone, any volunteer, any person in your program that has direct contact with a consumer will have to do annual civil rights training. That's a lot to share with you, and we will be sending out more information in that regard because we have to pull all that together for 800 partners. But the bottom line is, if your agency is not interested in complying with those guidelines for that program, you will not have access to those bonus commodities. And this we're going to try to get into place in early 2016. So just keep your eyes open for more information on that, but you will be receiving a rather extensive packet in the mail with all of those materials. And it will be time sensitive. It will be dated and time sensitive. And once everybody complies with that, then we'll be able to continue bonus. So that's a side commercial, but it's coming your way, so be prepared.
All right. Moving along with some more helpful hints. We'd like you to share our newsletter, nutrition education materials, and workshop and networking opportunities with your staff and volunteers. Maria is actually the one facilitating this or organized this webinar, and she does a great job. She's our AR training coordinator, and if there's something that you'd like us to do to help train your volunteers, train your staff, let Maria know. We can go out and find professionals, or you might be able to recommend someone who could get the message across, and we can gather people together like we have today, and maybe help ease some tension within your agency. You want to empower. That will allow you to empower them to make differences in someone else's life. Take the approach of empowering your consumer as well, not policing them. Encourage your consumers to access other social programs available in your community. So one day they may need you, may not need you. When training volunteers, tell lots of stories. I mean, me and Georgia are telling stories to you now. I'm sure you got plenty of stories that can uplift people as well. You might have to even go back to one of your oldest volunteers. They probably might remember something that you forgot that was just wonderful 20 years ago or 16 years ago that could uplift you. I mean, just seeing that video reminded me of some things that have happened since I've started here. So, and there's some great things. There's a lot more great things happening than negative. You want to encourage and empower your staff and volunteers, whether they are paid or not. Be sure that they get personal development opportunities, workshops, conferences, volunteer lunches too. Recruit, reward, and retain. What are the core values of your program? Develop them and share them, live them. Food bank values are respect, accountability, integrity, diversity, urgency, collaboration, customer service, and stewardship. And what I would recommend is that you have your core values posted everywhere around your agency. So when someone walks in, whether they're new or they've been coming in for 20 years, they're constantly reminded, this is what we're about. And that's what it's here at the food bank. We have it as our screensavers. It's posted on almost every wall, around every corner, located on some people's business cards. It's a lot of things. On a lot of our literature, you'll see it in there because it constantly reminds us, even on our bad days, that we are here to help serve and follow these guidelines. So, and like they said at the beginning, remember when you have a client come in, especially after you just got finished talking to the client that really drives you nuts. We all know y'all have them. But look into the next person's eyes, especially if it's a new person. Look into their eyes of the clients. You serve and remember what you would do or why you do what you do. And that is the end of our PowerPoint presentation. Like I said at the beginning, we really want to address some of the comments or concerns, or like to hear what you have to say about your experiences and your experience with burnout, or your experience with not burning out. How not to burn out. What have you done not to burn out? That's what we'd like to hear as well. So this is your time. Do we have any questions, Maria?
Not at this time. Start sending in. You can use your chat box, or you can also raise your hand next to your name, and we can unmute you so we can actually hear your voice. We want to hear some folks. Come on, I'm sure you can all relate to these scenarios, to everything that we've said today. So let's hear from you. Any questions, comments, suggestions, things, how we can make things better for you?
Come on, you're in there. You're out there.
We see you.
We see you.
I know Manna got some stories.
We find it hard to believe there's no questions or comments.
Well, I guess we don't have any questions or comments. Where you just don't feel like sharing with the group. If you do want to share personally, you can call me and Georgia or Maria, and we can talk to you personally one-on-one over the phone. Or you could always stop in as well. I mean, in my times of burnout, personally, I realized that it's not always like my burnout was outside of work or outside of where I was volunteering, but I was. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Great. Here we go. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Jackie.
Thank you very much, Jackie. You're making us a plate, sending it in to us.
This is a busy time. This is a stressful time too, obviously, for everybody this time of year. What do you mean I don't have a turkey? Al, you have a question?
We're gonna unmute you, Al. Are you ready? All
Hi.
right, go ahead. We're gonna go ahead.
Hello, Georgia.
Hi, Al. Hi, Al. Go ahead.
Okay, we're getting some feedback on this end. Just wanted to share that at MANA, to help keep our volunteers from getting burned out or feel that they're underappreciated or not appreciated, once a year we've had Volunteer Appreciation Month, and we serve a small dinner before we open the pantry to our clients so that the volunteers get a chance to eat. A lot of them come right from work. They don't get a chance to eat before working the pantry, and we get done at 8 o'clock. That makes it late for them. So the last 2 years we've had Volunteer Appreciation Month, serve them a dinner, give them some little trinkets to take home, and let them know that they are appreciated.
That's nice. It's very nice, Al. I actually went to Middletown Food Pantry last week for their volunteer appreciation luncheon as well. So I'm glad to hear that you do that. Anybody else have any other volunteer recognition ideas that you'd like to share? Like I said earlier, the food bank couldn't exist without volunteers. We couldn't afford to pay all the, with 3,500 volunteers a year. We could not afford to pay everybody that comes to help us, but we really do appreciate them. We make them know that we appreciate them. They get T-shirts. They get, lots of kudos. And we do have volunteer recognition events as well. Any other comments out there? Everybody's sleepy. Did y'all have turkey for lunch?
All right.
We're going to wrap it up. We thank you so much for your participation. You will be receiving a link to complete an evaluation for today's session. And again, as Steve and Georgia mentioned, if there's anything that we can do to assist you on site, to have different types of webinars, to have workshops here or at your location, please let us know because we are partners. We need to make things happen. We need to work together. So again, we thank you for your participation. We thank Jorja Barton for her time, for Steve Early as well for their fantastic session and all their years of experience to really share their knowledge with us, and for all of you for all that you do on a daily basis. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.